It's time for a new evolution in raising golfers, one that doesn't involve headaches, tears, or heading down the path of unknown. Whether you're trying to introduce children to the game of golf, help them play competitively, or play at a collegiate level, you're in the right place. This show is for any parent, player, or coach who wants to build a better team at home and on the golf course. This is the Raising Golfers Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Raising Golfers Podcast. I am your host, Travis Hauser, coming from Carlsbad, California. If you're just new to the podcast, please, if you could, do me a favor, go ahead and just give this podcast a subscribe, leave a nice review, and that'll help so that I can share the message that we're trying to promote here on the podcast with more people all around the world. I would greatly appreciate it. Also, if you're looking for more information, more resources, you can also follow the podcast Instagram and Facebook pages at Raising Golfers Podcast. Now, this week's an exciting week for the world of golf. Golf is in the Olympics. I mean, how cool is that? I think about it, and I'm starting to realize, how was golf not in the Olympics before this? I mean, it's just such an iconic sport, and it just seems like it's a perfect fit for something like the Olympics. And I can't believe it took so long to become a sport in the Olympics. But at the same time, I'm extremely excited that we are here living now to be able to experience this. And I'm going to be rooting for Team USA. I'm sure you listeners are rooting for your countrymen and ladies representing your country in the Olympics. And I wish everyone the best of luck. But it's going to be so exciting. I can't wait to watch it. I've been really busy over the last few weeks. We've been doing summer camps here every single week, and they have just been so much fun for the children, and talk about a great first experience for those who've never been into the game of golf. And I think it's just a great recharge and experience for those who had played golf or been exposed to golf, but now realize that golf can be so much fun. So the summer camps for me have just been so awesome. I'm so happy to be part of it and be able to share this wonderful sport with so many people in this area. Another exciting thing, as you know, for those of you who do listen to the podcast, I do run an Operation 36 program here at Rancho Carlsbad. It started in May, and it started with just, I want to say, about 6 students. And here we are just a few months later, and we are already up to 30 students. So the program's growing. There's a lot of excitement, and I think just a community feel in those who participate in those Operation 36 classes have really started to bond. And it's just exciting to see a lot of people who've never touched a golf club become golfers, and those who were golfers become more energized and excited to play the game of golf. And just kind of looking at golf as a whole, I mean, since the pandemic, golf has really exploded around the world. It's been an extremely popular sport, but the way it looks like it's going, and I hope it continues to go this way, is that it has a very bright future, and it doesn't look like there's anything letting up at this point. I think golf will stay a very popular sport, not only for the youth, but also for people of all ages. So I'm very, very excited about that. Today's podcast is how to motivate your children to practice golf. And this is a question that I get quite often. I got this question when I was working up in Northern California, when I was working in China, and even here working in Carlsbad. And I think there's a lot of things to really think about here on how to motivate children to practice, because let's be honest, it's not as simple as every single child gets the crazy bug to just say, hey mom, hey dad, hey coach, I want to spend the entire day at the golf course and practice. Now, us coaches and let's just say adults involved in the junior golfers who wish that golf becomes a very popular sport for that child, hopes that that would be the case, but it's just not the reality. So we're going to go through a couple of important tips, I think, to think about. And then I'm also going to give you some ideas of how I think you could also help structure and motivate your junior golfer to want to feel more motivated to get out and practice. So I think if you have a junior golfer that seems to be struggling with wanting to go and practice, I think the first thing we have to find out is what's stopping them from wanting to practice. So I think we have to actually ask them what it is. From my experience in China in the summertime, a lot of times it was just the weather. It's too hot, too humid. The kids didn't want to go out in the heat. So we had to think about alternatives of how to allow them to practice where it wouldn't be so hot and humid for them. So it was actually quite funny. The golf course or the country club that I was working at, they actually brought in these misters. And you would think it would make you throw the club or lose the grip or whatever, but the misters and the fans all of a sudden really cooled down the golfers and gave them a lot of motivation to practice. We also built a few indoor facilities so they could actually go and practice inside with air conditioning. That also helped out as well. But it may not just be that. It may not be the weather. It may be something else. It might be that they feel intimidated or it's too difficult or they don't like doing it alone, which we're going to get into. But I think the first thing would be as an adult is to find out what it is that's stopping them and why they don't feel so motivated to get in practice. So that'd be a great place to start. Now the second thing is I think that we have to encourage them to make practice time easier. And so what I mean by that is, as you know, golf is not an easy sport. We do want to motivate them. So what I would encourage you as an adult to do would be to have the junior golfer either practice a lot of short game putting and chipping, which is generally a little bit easier than full swings, or if they're going to do some full swings, I think it'd be okay even if they hit some shots off tees. Let's just say they're starting out, just to encourage them and make the practice sessions easier, to give them some confidence and motivation, as opposed to going to the driving range, put them on the short grass, having them hit irons and struggle with making solid contact and getting the ball in the air, because then that practice session is frustrating, it's unmotivating, and it's not going to encourage them to want to come back. Now, another idea that I thought would be maybe a good thing is to maybe create some type of reward system. So if you're a coach, you can encourage some type of reward system for the golfers in your group, for those who practice. As a parent, you can think of also some other type of external reward system. It's not a bribe, but just some type of reward system to kind of give them that extra motivation to think that this is going to be fun. And if they do a certain amount of practice, or they spend a certain amount of time, or they do a certain amount of tasks, that there's some kind of a reward related to that practice session. And let's be honest, children love rewards. I know that there is some controversy behind this, but from my experience with most of my coaching, when I tell students that we're doing a game, the first thing they ask is, what's the prize? So I think rewards are very, very, very important. Now, the next thing I would say is that we have to limit their stress factor going out to practice. And what I mean by that is, if you're an adult going to watch them practice, or you're the parent specifically going to watch your child practice, I think we have to just kind of let them do their thing and help when help is needed, but not help when help is not needed. And what I mean by that is, sometimes we do want to step in too soon. We want to help and encourage them, but actually it's not really the time where help is actually needed. And it creates this stressful environment, and the child doesn't know what they're supposed to do. They don't feel like it's helping them, and then they don't want to practice. So I think a stress-free environment is going to go into some of the direct golf-related practice things I'm going to go into in just a minute. And then I would also say is, another idea would be to focus on the process of their practice instead of the results. And what I mean by that is, hey, let's go out today and practice putting, chipping, and irons, versus, hey, let's go out and hit 100 balls with your 7-iron, and you need to hit 85 of them past the 60-yard marker. Now, it's good to have goals, and that's actually one of the next things, but I don't think necessarily having the results at the forefront is the most important thing, as opposed to the process, meaning, hey, you know what, let's give it our all for those putts, or let's give it our all for putting, chipping, and irons today. Now, it is a good thing to talk about goals, and I would say encouraging your junior golfer to set very small goals will help them and motivate them to want to come out and practice. And those goals, I think, need to be realistic. They need to be attainable so that they can actually hit those even in a short term or a short practice setting, because that's going to motivate them to want to come back time and time again to practice. Now, if those goals are not attainable and not realistic, they're going to realize very quickly, and it's going to be an unmotivated practice session, which won't motivate them to want to come back and practice again. And then what I would say is just be creative. I mean, you got to try different techniques. Every child is different. We don't know what's going to click with them. And I think just trying a variety of different things or doing a bunch of mini experiments and seeing what works and doesn't work is totally fine. So if an idea comes to your mind as an adult, whether you're a coach or parent, I would jot it down, go do it in the practice session, see if it works, see if it clicks, see if it motivates the junior golfer. If it doesn't, let's move on. Let's try the next mini experiment and see what does. But I think having a variety of different things to do and encourage them in their practice sessions is very important so that they want to come back time and time again. Now, golf-related things, from what I've seen in my experience, not only as a golfer, but also as a junior golf coach, I think one of the most important things to motivate a junior golfer to come and practice is to make sure that they're doing it with friends involved. And I've recently had two boys who are 11 and 12 years old join one of my Operation 36 classes. They didn't know each other before they joined the class. And now it's almost like they're best of buds. And they're coming out 3-4 times a week together, practicing together, having so much fun because they're doing it together. So if you're an adult, link them up with some other friends. Contact other parents to see if you can get them to coordinate the times they come out and practice together. I think that's a first huge step. It doesn't matter necessarily what exactly they're practicing, but if you can get them out there at the same time, at the same place, I think that's going to be extremely motivating for the junior golfers to want to come out and practice. Why? Because it's social, it's fun, it's encouraging, and it's just so much better of an experience for them to be out there with their peers. Now, the next thing would be is in their practice sessions, it would be great if they can come out and actually practice doing games, not just stand on the driving range hitting ball after ball after ball, because that does get boring very, very quickly. So having some games for them to play, whether it's on their own or with their friends, or even with you as the adult, I think will motivate them to want to come back and practice, because golf is a game. A game should be fun, and I think they should be practicing with games involved. And I also think there's so many other benefits beyond just the game itself that help them learn so many skills. So getting games involved in their practice sessions, I think, will be huge for the motivational factor, but also for their development. Now, golf is a game that is played on a golf course. Golf is practiced mostly off the golf course. So I think that motivating them to come and practice, have them go out and play on the golf course, or have them go out and practice on the golf course. I think that will be huge and motivating for them, because from my experience, children love being out on the golf course. It's so much fun for them. It doesn't have to be result oriented, but just having them go out and hit shots on the golf course, I think, is extremely motivating for them to want to come back. So make sure that you do incorporate that into their practice sessions. Now, talking about games, I think you can incorporate games on the course for them. You can give them many tasks on the golf course. You can do so many different things to kind of keep that element of surprise for them in their practice sessions on the golf course. That's going to motivate them to want to come back and think, hey, what's the next task? What's the next game that we're going to do tomorrow when we actually go out on the golf course? I think those things are huge for motivation for junior golfers to come on the golf course. And then the last thing related to the golf course play is, if you're an adult, play alongside them. If you're a coach, go out and hit some shots with them. If you're a parent, go play with them. They love that. They see us adults as role models, and they want to do what we do, and they love doing it with us. So playing alongside your junior golfer is going to be so motivating for the junior golfer to want to come back and play golf with you again, or come out and practice again. So playing alongside them, practicing alongside them, just interacting and doing those things with them is going to be huge for motivating them to want to come out and practice. And then I'd say the last thing would be is if you find as a parent specifically that it's difficult to motivate them to practice when you are there, talk to the coach that your junior golfer is working with or a coach in your area and see if they do supervised practice sessions where a coach can come out and watch them. You'd be surprised how motivated they would be to have a coach watching them practice. And I think they actually would enjoy that, and it would give them a little bit of focus and push beyond what they have in practice sessions on their own. Again, try a variety of different techniques. We don't know what is going to work for every single junior golfer, but I hope that some of these tips I've listed out here on this episode will be helpful for you to rethink the practice and how to get your junior golfer more motivated to go out and practice golf. Because let's be honest, the junior golfer, if their goal is to get better at the game, well, they're going to have to spend time practicing. And we need to sometimes help them get that motivation to practice. My closing thoughts for this topic would be that be creative, try a variety of different techniques, and have fun while you're doing it. If you're having fun as the adult during the practice time for junior golfers, I can guarantee you that the junior golfer is also going to be having a great time as well. If you have any better tips that I have not mentioned on this podcast, please share them with me, with the group, with the community, because I think everyone would greatly appreciate any of those tips that have worked for you. And I would personally love to hear them as well, because I can always better what I'm doing as a golf coach and as a parent, and love to hear new and creative ways to get junior golfers to have fun playing the game of golf. Hope you have a good week, and look forward to having you here back on the podcast next week. Thanks so much, guys.